Hey there everyone, welcome to today's video, the next installment of our remote working content series. My name is Lawrence, I'm the head of marketing here at Mango Map, and today I'm going to be talking about how you, as a remote worker, can avoid burnout. Now, why am I talking about burnout and why is it such an important topic in remote working? The reason for that is that it is probably the biggest potential downside to a distributed team. And it's actually a bigger risk than people not working enough. Now, the more widely held notion that remote workers aren't as productive, or you can't watch them, you can't monitor them, and therefore people will work less. That's actually false, according to most of the data, and I've seen it personally from working remotely for the past couple of years. The data very clearly shows that people get a productivity boost, but an unintended corollary of that is that some people end up working too much and then they burn out. Okay, so it's a really important topic for remote work teams. So there are three real big reasons why remote workers are at that increased level of risk, in my view. Now, the biggest one is that there is no separation sometimes between home and work. Okay, so it can feel like you never get a break from work. And particularly at the moment, with people spending a lot of their time at home on the weekends, it can feel like you never leave the house. And by the time Monday morning rolls around, you don't feel like you've had a break. You feel like you're constantly on. Your desk is always there, even in the evenings. That mental separation is so important to get right and to get it right early. So I think that's probably why this is the biggest cause for concern. If you can't make a physical barrier, then you really need to make that mental barrier to really separate that and stick to it. Okay, so the second biggest cause, I think, relates to the first one. It's that temptation to work to get ahead for tomorrow. It's very strong. You have an office at home. You have your laptop there ready. That's a good measure to have, because when you're in the morning, you go, it's there, it's ready. But it can also have that unintended consequence where it's always there and you can just jump on whenever you want and get ahead for tomorrow. And it's like, if I can do this now, then I can get that design asset that I need quicker tomorrow. So that's something to watch as well. And also a lack of enforced routine that the office gives you means that your hours, if you're not used to remote working and you haven't implemented a really cogent, detailed daily routine that you've written down, work can spread across, say, 14 hours as opposed to the 8 that it should be. Okay, so not only are you at home a lot, there's no mental barrier, but work is taking 14 hours instead of 8 as well. So you literally are spending every day, all day on your work, and then your weekends just disappear, and then you're back into the grind again before you know it. Okay, so step one in order to counter this is to brief your team to look out for each other. It's really important that you have that conversation early, and that your team knows the signs to look out for in each other, and that they actually do look out for each other. Now at Mango, we have a daily stand-up that we do in Slack. You can always tell from the tone of people, or if you're on a Zoom call, you can tell from their demeanor. It's quite easy to see if you know what to look for. You can see people who are looking stressed, approaching that burnout. So there should just be a very simple procedure in place where you can report that to your manager, and then the manager can reach out to that person and just ask what's going on. Are they okay? Do they need a break, etc.? Okay, so in terms of the signs, knowing them, as I said, is very important. So first of all, accept it's real, it's not someone's fault, and then look for things like low productivity, anxiety, low mood, low motivation, chronic fatigue. And then physical symptoms, it's hard to tell these, but if you're looking at, say, yourself, then things like migraines, headaches, palpitations can all be physical symptoms of burnout. Now, you can just Google this and just say burnout symptoms. There's lots of resources to check this out. So it's just about having that conversation with your team, letting them know and just saying, okay, this is how we do things here. This is how we look out for each other. And a consequence of that is that your team gets more bonded. So there's nice side effects as well. Okay, so step number two is it's a very practical step. Is to implement active measures to counter burnout. Now, there are loads of examples of companies how they're doing this. These are just some that I've picked. Now, Mango isn't doing all of these. You can take your pick, see what works for you, try them out. A really popular one is things like unlimited vacation. if people will need to take a break, then they need to take a break, and they don't have to go through 4 layers of sign-up in order to do that. It's about giving trust to your employees and saying, okay, you are trusted, you can take as much vacation as you need. The vast majority of employees will respond to that and not take liberties, So that's a really good one. Another one that I found quite popular is 4-day work weeks, specifically in summer, certain times of year when it's quite nice outside. You can give your breakers give your workers, a bit of a break for a couple of months. 6-hour work days. Now, there have been some mixed results from this. I saw a Swedish study that did care homes and nurses. Now, the workers were more productive, or at least they reported that. They were happier, but the government had to hire extra workers in order to cover the hours missed. Now, it was taxpayer money, so it was quite an emotive issue. In terms of productivity, it did work, but it was more expensive. How this applies to office workers, I actually think that regardless if you put that study to the side, I think the stats are that office workers are productive for around 3 hours per day. So if you can get 6 hours of actual productive work at home, then you're double productive than an average office worker. So you can test that and see how it works, and just measure the really important metrics for each team member and see if that works for you. I happen to think that an 8-hour day is pretty good, especially if you're using something like Pomodoro, where you can do chunks of really productive, hyper-focused work and then take breaks throughout the day that all equal 8 hours. If you do that, your productivity will skyrocket. Paid sabbaticals is a really popular one. After 4 years of service, for example, people get 6 weeks off to go traveling the world. Quite a popular one. Time management software, it will log you out of your laptop at certain times once you reach a certain threshold. And the last one that I put on here is probably my favorite, and that's implementing that really effective daily routine so that you know what you're doing at every time of the day. For example, 5 o'clock comes, I exercise. That's, for me, work is over. That I never miss it. I finish, I exercise, and that's it. I'm ready for the evening. And I've done that mental separation from work. I've gone through the exercise, and then I'm at the other end, which is the evening, and that's time to do other things, okay? I've actually I've got a video about building an effective daily routine. I will put that in the comments below so you can check that out. And step number 3, now this is going to become far more prevalent once these quarantine and lockdown measures are lifted significantly. And that's to prioritize high-value social activity. When the quarantine is over, you can actually meet friends, colleagues for lunch. You might end up seeing your friends more for drinks, lunch, game of tennis, cinema, whatever you want, really. If you're remote working, then you're going to be focusing on your work at home. So that frees you up so that you can actually perhaps see your friends more. You can make the effort to go out for lunches more. And it actually makes that social activity that you have higher value. So you can take advantage of that, obviously, when these lockdown measures are lifted, okay? So be sure to take advantage of that when it comes around. It's one of the best perks of remote working, okay? So let's do a recap. Burnout is potentially one of the biggest risks to remote workers. 3 simple steps that you can take to counter that is just to make your team mindful, put procedures in place so that they can watch each other and know the signs, and then there's an easy procedure that they can follow in order to report that and ensure that person gets the help they need. They can take a break and return to work in a better frame of mind, okay? Number 2 is to implement active measures to counter burnout, as inevitably it will happen to some members of your team, so you can actually put some effective measures in place. I listed those before. Take your pick. There's loads more. You can Google those. And then prioritize high-value social activity. Again, that's going to come in when this lockdown is over, okay? It's a real big perk. You'd actually get to see your friends more. You can have very high-value meetings with your team. You won't be doing 8 meetings a day that are very low value, boring, waste of time. You don't need to be there. It's more about high value. So enjoy that when it comes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you disagreed with anything that I said, please leave a comment below and let me know. It'd be great to hear from you. Also, please do consider subscribing. We will be putting out a lot more content for the remainder of the year and beyond about productivity, remote working, mapping, franchising, GIS. It would be great to have you on board for that. So yeah, thank you for watching. and I will see you again soon. Thank you.